The Anacrusis officially launched on December 5th, 2023, after roughly 22 months of early access play to PC and Xbox players. And after watching some of the gameplay trailers, I was immediately reeled in by the world's 60s sci-fi aesthetic with bits of retrofuturism dipped in there. Plus, some of the people on the Stray Bombay team, the developers of the game, were part of the OG Valve team responsible for the GOAT's Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. So it seemed like a pretty safe bet, and I went ahead and bought the early access version. But sadly, I was left with a pretty mixed response to the game, as well as the community at that time, and some now. Still, I gave it some leniency because of its early access title, but wow, this game was missing quite a bit. Yet, there was something about this game that made me not want to give up on it outright. Could most definitely be my affinity to the genre and aesthetic the game has going on, and also my strange love-hate relationship with Unreal Engine, minus the dreaded traversal stutter shader compilation issues seen in games to this day.
It's just as stuttery, which is an awful shame, as this game will stay this way in perpetuity until they do patch it.
So I decided to hold off playing anymore until the game's official release, and then give my honest assessment. Let them cook, so to speak. And they did cook. Not to my taste completely, but some work was done to keep things going. The characters. There were 4 playable characters to choose from. Lance, the seemingly goofy one, Gion, the smart one, Nessa, the brains and leader, and Liu, the valley girl. These are all assumptions based on the dialogue throughout the episodes, but even with that dialogue, I'm still kinda in the dark on how these characters feel about each other and what their motivations are and what exactly their purpose is in the grand scheme of things. Each of them has unique character-specific cosmetics, and the weapons have skins and charms that are all obtainable through in-game challenges. On top of that, Steam Workshop support, baby. After you've selected your 2 preferred characters, you will have 4 game modes to choose from. Episodes with a unique objective and mission length. Versus mode, allowing players to take control of the aliens and characters, allowing up to 8 players. Holdout, where you're tasked to defend an area while taking on hordes and brutes and other special elites. And weekly challenge, an amped up weekly selected episode with increased difficulty and modifiers. You can go straight into a public match with other PC and Xbox players thanks to cross-platform play. A nice addition. Or start a private session with options of increasing difficulty settings from normal, intense, and intenser. I always ended up going with a private session, leaving the lobby open, and didn't run into anyone throughout my initial intense difficulty game of episode 1. AI will fill in for the characters like in other 4-player co-op shooters, but they are kind of a hit or miss. Except Gion, specifically in episode 1, because dude saved my ass a couple of times.
I'm calling you Daddy.
Probably didn't help that I chose the longest episode out of the 5, combined with upping the difficulty. Because of this, the flaws of the friendly AI stuck out pretty sorely. If no players are available when queuing up for versus mode, you're forced to play against yourself. You'll get a run as the aliens, but when it's your turn to play as the characters, no AI elite aliens will spawn in, and you'll be forced to play up until you exceed the score of your previous run. Definitely an oversight that I hope is acknowledged in the near future, especially if the Stray Bombay team is still hoping to bring a fully offline option to the game. Upon selecting an episode, you're greeted with a 60s-styled intro video. Now, my initial issue I had with these intros was the lack of context or exposition given to the mission.
Okay, but what exactly did you do for the company?
Strategy, mostly.
Like, where to invest?
Yeah, more like work harder. Hey, the Work Harder initiative I started was a real success.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yes, this game is a bit silly and tropey, something I'd love to see expanded upon even further. Though it is that, a compelling exposition and intro sequence to the hour-and-a-half episode and any episode of any medium is sorely needed to keep the player and audience member interested into the story. I was so distracted by this that I completely missed the fact that all 5 episodes have the same damn video intro. Like, what? I would rather listen to an intro with the still backdrop of the in-game art, like Vermintide 2, than listen to a less than substantial intro dialogue with the same video for each episode. You then spawn into the spaceship boarding area equipped with a pistol containing infinite ammo, pulse melee ability for parrying and crowd control, a health scanner, and your pick of some of the game's tier 1 weapons, including the SMB, blaster, and plasma rifle. The guns. As you progress through the levels within each episode, you'll find higher tiers of the base game weapons ranging from tiers 1 through 4. These are variations of the guns modifying their physical appearance, clip size, fire rate, status effects, spread, and damage output. These variations are freaking badass. You've got the plasma rifle MK1 and 2 version being overclocked. It's a burst variant of the plasma rifle and it is sleek and elegant. The heavy plasma rifle MK1 and 2, a slower, more powerful version of the plasma rifle, but with the MK2 variant having more power and increased fire rate. The sexy stasis MK1 and 2 version that applies slowing stasis effect to the enemies and looks so cool while doing it and sounds so satisfying. Just listen.
Good, something good.
And my goat, the overclocked SMB that has never let me down. And then you've got the blaster that's got a sunshot version shooting fiery pellets and MK1 through 3 versions, 3 being overclocked. It's probably the weakest one for me against the other weapons, mainly because of the gun feel, feedback, and sound, but I think it's on the cusp of getting the wow factor status that the other guns possess. The last of the 2 base game guns are found near the late game, and they are the LMG and the prismatic rifle, and they are beautiful. The feel, the damage, the look is there. The gunplay and guns of this game give me hope for the future and makes me not want to put it down. When coming across the guns and their variations, you'll also find additional med packs and health boosters that provide a limited boost of decaying health, grenades, and special weapons. For grenades, you've got the goo grenade, an AoE slipping, bunching, and sliding effect, the stasis grenade, time slowing effect, the holographic grenade, a short-lived hologram set to explode when attacked, the impact grenade, exploding upon impact, the fire grenade setting hordes aflame, the vortex grenade sucking enemies up into the air, and the shield grenade that can be shot through while inside. Bonus item are the explosive containers scattered throughout the map that can be lifted and thrown. Special weapons. Your special weapon picks include the arc rifle, shooting chain lightning, the laser rifle burning through aliens, router gun ricocheting projectiles amongst the enemies, the fast shooting minigun to live out your Doom fantasy, the rocket launcher taking out everything, and the auto turret gun to help mow down hordes. All these weapons, abilities, and items then have the opportunity to synergize with the perk system obtainable through matter compilers scattered throughout the map. Now this is a pretty simple build crafting system, nothing crazy like Vermintide 2 or Darktide, but the fundamentals are there. Want to play crowd control support role? You've got ammo surplus perks, double pulse charges, increased pulse charges when near other players, increased AoE of pulse charges, deflecting of projectiles immediately after pulsing, or a medic roll, adrenaline when a teammate goes down and after using a med pack or booster, slower decay of damaged health, and an overall health increase. Or you go with your classic glass cannon build, move faster while aiming, headshots cause explosions, mark special enemies take more damage, automatically mark special enemies by aiming at them, piercing rounds for plasma rifles, and smart tracking bullets for SMBs. And something I'd like to see is a reroll option, or more than 4 perk options on each matter compiler. I do think this would be a nice addition to build crafting and also to players that want to mess around with all of the game's perks, the world and its enemies. It doesn't take too long to appreciate the game's environments and how visually pleasing things can look. I ran the game at a mix of high and ultra settings at 1440p with the 4070 Ti and Ryzen 7 5800 X3D. I only experienced occasional stutters when combat really heated up or the odd traversal stutter, but nothing crazy. The game's lighting and vibrant colors make the world pop and stand out. All of the levels' maps take place on different parts of the ship, ranging from malls, the bridge, living quarters, academy hub, and enclosed outdoor regions. You'll run into the squishy aliens that make up the hordes and 6 elite enemies. The grabber, capable of reaching across the map, separating you from your allies. The flashers, that destroy your line of sight. The gooper, flinging immobilizing goo at you and forcing you to listen to the gooper audio cue over and over and over and over again. The spawner hatching small turrets, the spiky nest boys waiting to be awakened, and the big boy brute trying to truck you through the map. Combine all of these with a pretty good AI director and you'll get some intense situations when things work. bugs, sound design, and its impact on the atmosphere. The Stray Bombay team has kept a good connection with its community, consistently posting updates and patch notes on its Steam page and website, and going back and briefly scrolling through, I can see a clear upward trend of improvements and community feedback. But some serious glaring bugs and sound design choices weigh heavy on this game's longevity. A common issue I ran into was elite enemies, specifically the Brute, freezing in place or getting stuck in the environment. And the plasma rifle's MK1's iron sights would occasionally misalign. Some collision with the environment prevented me from obtaining a matter compiler in an episode. And the biggest was the character's dialogue and audio cues. This was driving me insane. I genuinely had trouble deciphering what triggered certain audio cues because of the rough audio overlapping.
Oh, roller! Tiger!
This broke my immersion repeatedly. A complete overhaul of the characters' voice lines and cues along with sound mixing needs to be done. The odd, uncanny conversations alienate you, making an odd, stiff, and contrived atmosphere that is no way intentional. So I accidentally thought episode 3 was episode 2, so you're gonna hear an
episode 3
be inserted for any of those parts. And both OSTs are great, so that's a win. In the midst of this, certain episodes' OSTs kind of hard carried the world's atmospheric shortcomings, specifically episode 3. It created a climactic and epic feel to send the mission off. The vast space of the ship is fully felt here, and a melancholy feeling lingers within you when traversing across remnants of a once thriving space colony. Mowing down enemies with the LMG definitely helped this epic feeling. The other episodes have a little bit of the gravitas of episode 3 OST. If all were revamped to the level of episode 3, I do think it would help with some of the atmosphere's shortcomings. The story and game modes. Prior to each episode, you'll get an objective and some vague dialogue amongst the 4 characters on what is going on. The objective description will be the most concise bit of the story because of how vague each character speaks about the mission at hand or the mission at all. Yes, I am aware similar 4-player co-op survival shooters are pretty light when it comes to the story department, but we are given scraps on what exactly is going on. The info I gained from playing this game through: alien invasion, scientist named Boris, the 4 character names, and brief dialogue throughout each episode. The writing needs some love, and I do think it would help inform the voice actor's performance too. If they have about as much understanding of the story that the player is given, I too would struggle with delivering a grounded performance. Final thoughts. The Anacrusis as of recording this video is still a bit of a gamble, as it was when I bought it when it hit early access. At its listed price of $20, I would not recommend this, unless a huge update addressed my concerns on the bugs, sound design, story, and atmosphere. But at its sell value of $10, which can be found pretty consistently during Steam sales like the Winter Steam Sale as of recording now, or on Game Pass, I can recommend picking it up. This game has charm and potential, and looking through Stray Bombay's track record of updates, I have some faith that the game will be improved upon if the critiques made here and within the community are addressed. Also, here is my recommended order of episode you should play. Give it a try. Let me know if it evokes anything from you. Goodbye.